Live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
We're in the middle of wildest Africa, next to the most impressive predator, the African lion. Join us for Safari Live. Ready?
Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to this, your live safari here on the western edges of the great Kruger National Park. My name is James Hendry. On camera today is, looks like Ragnar the Viking. I'll tell you about him a little bit later. We are now, of course, in the 8.5 million acre Kruger National Park. We're on the western fringes on a piece of land called Djuma. We'll be exploring Arathusa to the west and Cheetah Plains to the east, and it's about 10,000 acres that we'll be covering. This is my magnificent office. It is called the tent, and in it we have a number of museum pieces and artifacts and various other feeds that we'll show you during the course of the afternoon. Out in the field, you've met Brent Smith. He's with the lions already. Jamie is hopefully going to be looking for some leopards, which will be very exciting. And then we have Steph, bold as a baby's bottom, out on foot searching for the smaller things of the wild, the tracks, the birds, the insects, and perhaps an elephant or two on foot. Without further ado, let us head across to Jamie Patterson and find out how her search for Karula, the great queen, is progressing.
And a very good afternoon and welcome on another live safari journey here from the middle of Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon I have the pleasure of having VM on camera with me, and we have returned this afternoon to where Karula had left her two gorgeous 9-month-old cubs. And if you have just joined us, if you're new to the whole safari experience, Karula is a leopard. She is the female leopard. She's also known as the Queen of Djuma, a highly successful leopard in terms of raising cubs to adulthood. And somewhere, Hosana and Shungile are hiding in this patch of vegetation. And we've stopped for the moment because sometimes the best way to find anything in the bush is to sit and listen and just take a moment to absorb the atmosphere. Now, we've actually had the pleasure of watching these two little cubs grow up from an age where we actually had them when they were very first born, when they were just a few hours old. And we've seen them develop from tiny little fluff balls to almost fully grown little miniature versions of their mother. So where are they? Let's go and see if we can find them. Oh, they were somewhere in this area, but of course on a cold, cloudy, somewhat rainy day, there's a very good chance that they have moved a little bit from their original position. Everybody hold on to your hats, because we've got to go under some trees while we scrape through here and try and find these two leopards. It is not just Brent and myself driving around on the vehicles, but Steph is out and about on foot, which is one of the best ways to explore the bush.
Yes, hello and welcome to the bushwalk part of today's PM Safari. I am Stef WINTERBOER. On camera today is Dave, and quite rightly we are walking around over here. Now, some of you might be wanting to know, why would we possibly be wanting to walk around in one of Africa's largest wilderness areas? Well, quite simply, it's what I do for a living. I'm a wilderness trails guide, and what I love doing more than anything else is walking around in some of the last true wildernesses that we've got, not only in South Africa, but also in Africa. It's really special, a little bit different to what you're going to be experiencing with Brent and Jamie on the vehicles. And I'll tell you what, over the next couple of minutes, over the next couple of hours, I'm going to be showing you exactly why that is. Now, you can see through there, we've got a game path that's meandering through the bush over here, fairly thick. The nice thing is that animals also like to walk on these game paths, and what I'm hoping for this afternoon is some elephant. We haven't seen a lot of elephant on this particular reserve in a day or two now, and that's because the bush all over the place is really flushing this beautiful green. You can see from the clouds all over us now that our dry season has broken, the rains have come, and so animals are starting to disperse. And what I'm hoping to do is find you some of these pachyderms that we have over here. There's roughly about 20,000 of them in these 8.5 million acres. And we're going to be sticking to these thick bush areas where I'm hoping that we will find some for you. But without further ado, we're going to be sending you over to Brent with some lion.
Look at that. Little cubs frolicking on a lovely cool afternoon. Isn't that just wonderful? My name is Brent Leo Smith. I've got my good friend Brian Joubert and his thumb. And of course, together, when Brian and Brent are out in the African bush, we're known as the Killer Bees. And we've found some lions to start off this sunset safari. Isn't this absolutely stunning? We've got, in total, around 4 lionesses and 7 cubs here and 1 big male. There we go. And the cubs seem to be getting quite frisky. Now, the incredible thing about being live in the middle of the African bush is we're also able to take questions from you, and you can do that by using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. If you want to know anything about lions or any of the other wonders of Africa, pop us a message. Now, I'm hoping that these lions, who've been in this area for about 2 days now, are going to get mobile soon. So when I say mobile, I mean they're going to get on the move. They're looking a bit peckish, a bit hungry. It's a nice cool afternoon, so they might go out hunting before dark. And wouldn't that be exciting? Well, there we go. That little guy is hunting the bark of, what tree is that? A little bush willow tree. Now, as a lion cub, all sorts of things are toys, whether it be bark or dung, or each other, or mom's tail, or even sometimes dad. So, they are very, very sweet and cute. And these guys are between 5 and 6 months old. Look at that, he's managed to get himself a little bit of branch. Oh, look at that, you can see the claws coming out even on that little guy, and you can see what ferocious weapons those are going to be as he gets older. There we go, look at that. Now, you definitely don't want to be hooked by those claws. There's lots of nasty things underneath there, rotting meat, some vile bacteria, and if you ever do get scratched by lions, it's almost guaranteed to become infected. Now, of course, I said there are 7 cubs here, and we had a very, very sad incident. And we found on yesterday's sunrise safari, we heard calling, and we followed a lion and a lioness down into a riverbed that's about a mile from us here. And we heard a very strange and strangled call, and there's a little lion cub there that had been injured, and its back was broken. And could have happened by lots of different things, but it is natural. It's not from any intervention from humans. It's most definitely from another wild animal, whether it be a hippo or even this male lion who's right next to me here. So I know James went to check. Unfortunately, that cub was still alive, even though it wasn't able to move. But I have heard, I haven't been there yet today, but I have heard it seems that cub mercifully has passed on. So very sad, but it is nature, and lion cubs generally have about a 70% mortality. Now, due to the drought, these cubs have done exceptionally well, and the females have managed to get 7 of them to around that 6-month period. And if they can get them to a year, it's very, very likely that most of the little females will definitely survive, and a very good chance for the males as well. Now I'm just going to try edge forward a little bit, see if we can see the ones that are playing with mom. Okay, but we're going to sit here. As I said, I hope these lions are going to get up and out and on the move in not too long. And who knows, maybe they'll decide to meet Ronald. And speaking of Ronald and James, let's go see what he's up to at the waterhole.
Now, if you have not met Ronald the Rover, everybody, today is your lucky day. In my tent here, I have many friends. Eggsy's sort of one of them, I suppose. Ragnar the cameraman. Let's head across to Ronald's feed. We'll have a look at his view. Now, that doesn't look like much, I suppose, but observe. Ronald is in fact a robot, and I'm driving him with a little joystick, and he's now approaching a herd of Nyala. They are just behind here. And our point behind Ronald is to kind of have an interaction with the animals that is different from our interaction in the vehicles, simply because we're hoping that the Ronald will be sort of mistaken for some kind of inanimate object, which of course he is. And therefore the animals will just sort of behave naturally around him. Now we're going to try and get a little bit closer as time goes on. That brown thing in the distance is a Nyala. In the meantime, you can come and have a look here. I have a competition for you. Now remember, Brent said we are live. We are live out in the bush on foot and in 2 vehicles and indeed here in the tent. So please talk to us, #SafariLive, and we have got a little competition for you. Over here I have a microscope, everybody, and underneath it is something that I don't think you will be able to identify. Now, if you can identify it, please send through a tweet, #SafariLive. Tell me what you think that is, and then all will be revealed a little bit later. #SafariLive, tell us what you think that is. Now, let's carry on with Ronald a little bit, and while we drive him, you see I don't even have to look while I drive him. He's not a very fast fellow at all. Oh, he's got stuck. But we can actually... Oh, he's actually not moving at all. Never mind, there is a Nyala. We can see a Nyala there. That is Ronald's new friend, everybody. A Nyala, and looks like a little calf there. 2 calves. That's interesting. That is fantastic. I'm just going to quickly change something. Just watch those Nyala. That is marvelous stuff. I'm just going to quickly see if I can't get Ronald to start moving again. No, I'm afraid Ronald has got a small glitch. We shall speak to the Russian and see if he can't sort that out in the meantime. Steph is out on foot, as you say, and he's got 11-sized feet. Let's find out what they've just stomped upon.
Now, we are in search of some elephant along this thickly bushed river that we've got just off to our left-hand side over here. And in the distance, I can hear some crashing and some crackling, and I'm holding thumbs that it'll be for some elephant that we've got down here. What we're going to try and do in this... Oh, look here. There's some urine. Right. This is quite fresh. Now to try and determine whether or not this is from an elephant. No, this is from a giraffe. So this urine puddle that we've got over here, this wet patch of sand that you can see here, is from a giraffe. I know that because of the tracks in the sand that his hooves have left. Giraffe have a hoof very similar to how a cow has a hoof, just a little bit longer and a little bit bigger, probably about this big in total. And here we can see it right here. This is a giraffe's hoof. And from here, he's walked off in this direction. And I actually think that's probably what's making that crashing noise, which is good. It's less dangerous than an elephant is, to be quite honest with you, but equally as impressive. We're going to try and see here. I'm going to try and see if we can track him. Here he goes. Here I can see this distinctive track that he's got. You can see how big it is from there to there. Really big foot. Alright. Hot on the trail of a giraffe. Now it doesn't mean that there isn't anything else dangerous here. Where we are right now is a brilliant place for elephant, for lion, for leopard, rhinoceros, hippopotamus. All of the dangerous animals in Africa also occur here. And when we're walking through the bush, we always try and walk with the wind in our faces and taking your time, being nice and quiet, just looking and listening basically. I'd say probably out of all the tools I have in my arsenal, the ones I use the most are these ears of mine. Luckily I was blessed with fairly big ears, and so they're a sense that does me some justice. That noise that you heard there was just David's camera antennae. We are coming to you live all the way from the middle of the Kruger Park. And that means that what we're looking at, you're looking at pretty much at the same time. Let's climb up this termite mound and see if we can't see the giraffe's head poking up out of the top here. Now remember, this is also an interactive safari, not just live, and so you can actually send me some questions. You can use the Twitter handle, the hashtag Safari Live, and ask me about what we're doing, comment on the scenery, anything you like really. Okay, the noise that I was hearing was coming from just here. Now giraffe don't like thickly bushed areas like this. The reason being is because if they were to be chased through this bush by some lion, branches could quite easily trip them and they could fall. Now talking about lions, Brent is still with those lions. Why don't you go and have a look at what they're up to?
Well, the 3 cubs have moved and have started feeding. They're suckling on one of the adult lionesses. Now, it might not be their mother. Lions practice allo suckling, and there's 3 different lionesses that have cubs. So all of them should still be producing milk, but they're getting right to the end of that period at the moment. Ooh, listen to that. I'm just going to keep quiet. No, those are little growls. And they could get a lot more fierce, as I said. There's probably not too much milk left. You can see how their ears are completely flat. Now that's a sign of aggression in lions, and it's often seen when lions are feeding in close proximity to each other. Isn't that so funny? Oh, those are 3 of the slightly older cubs. So probably closer to 6 months. I almost start expecting them to burst into a real growling match soon. Now the lionesses are quite hungry, so there's not that much milk. Now this is where, if he tries to force, or she tries to force her way in, I'm just going to keep quiet. There could be some so far the growls aren't too big. Oh, there we go. They are very sweet noises, and they can escalate quite quickly. Remember, this is 100% live. You are seeing this at the same time we are. Little lions suckling on one of the adult females. Now, hello Monty in Virginia. Monty is wondering, when will the young males start showing a mane? Well, you'll start seeing a bit of fluff build, Monty, from just over 6 months, 7 months, and not really a mane as such, but just a bit of fluff more than anything else. Look at that, really trying to sneak in there. Oh, these noises are just wonderful. Isn't this incredible? We're 100% live out here in the middle of Africa, and you get to join us on the world's largest safari vehicle. And we are going to be going off to a quick break, but these lions could get on the move. They might start roaring, they might start hunting. So you never know what's going to happen out here in the African bush, and that's what's wonderful about live. So all that, look, see exactly what I'm saying, and be sure to join us after the break to see what the Nkahumas get up to next. So here we go. As you know, we are practicing. And Brian, and since it is an advert break, what are we selling today? We are selling... Are we still selling beard products? No, we're selling razors. Today we are selling razors. As you can see, the green ninja, woodland ninja thumb has had a shave. It didn't get eaten by the beard as we feared yesterday. So the woodland ninja has freshened up. Maybe I should do the same tonight. Here we go. Wonderful Nkahumas. They do give us so much joy, these lions, and I do know it's really difficult when one of the cubs dies, but it is part of nature maintaining its balance. So now we're sitting here with... Let's jump across to Steph, who's got an animal that definitely likes to avoid lions.
We've managed to track and find that giraffe that is obviously the owner of the footprints that we were following, but also the cause of the sound that we were hearing. That is a gorgeous giraffe. Just have a look at that beautiful setting. He has seen us from ages ago. It's a male giraffe, and I can tell that from the hairless tops to those horns on top of his head. Let's go a little bit forward and see if we can keep with him and see what he's up to today. Now, he's got spooked by us a little bit. I think because we were moving in such thick bush, he ran off, and that's what we were hearing. That noise was him running through the bush and creating a disturbance. I think it was just a bit of a worry. You know, we have got a backpack on with a great big aerial on the back, and I think he was just wondering what type of animal is this coming through the bush at him. Generally speaking though, most animals have an instinctive fear of people on foot. I think it's just the millennia that humans have been utilizing these animals as a food source. They pretty much feel, I reckon they pretty much feel the same towards us as what we feel towards lions. He's there. You can see him just walking down there. He didn't actually move too far away from us at all. There he's busy watching us, turning around watching us. Do you know that we could fit directly underneath his belly? I could stand and walk underneath his belly without even brushing the top of my head. That's how big he is. Absolute giant. I'm fairly certain if we keep in the open, he will allow us to approach a little bit closer. Well, that's what I'm hoping for. Generally, these giraffes, they don't enjoy when you sneak up on them. But if you stay in the open... Oh, hang on, he's now keeping us at a distance. Let's see what he's going to do. We obviously don't want to spook him. That's the last thing that we want to do. We want to get a bit closer so that I can show you him a bit closer. We don't want to keep on pushing him and pushing him. What we'll do is we'll just try and skirt the edge of this comfort zone that he's in at the moment. So as you see, what we do is we walk forward and then he moves a little bit. We walk forward and he moves a little bit. And that's the distance that he wants us to be kept. There he is over there. I think if we stand here, we're probably going to get about the best view that we can of him. Now, in a little bit, we are going to be joined by our TV audience again. And then I am just going to go over the fact that we've found him while they've been away in an advertisement break. So I beg your patience, just a little bit of it, and then we'll go into some more facts about giraffe. I can see a big scar on his neck there, and that's usually from mange. It's a scar from a mange infliction or from fighting. Just shows you can get better. Alright, we're going to welcome the TV audience just in a little bit. Alright, welcome back from your break, and in the meantime we have managed to find that giraffe who we heard crashing through the bush in front of us and whose footprints we managed to see. That is as big as a male giraffe gets, and we are going to try and get a little bit closer. I want to see exactly where he's moving, what he's doing, and we should be able to do it if we stay in the open. Giraffes don't enjoy it when basically we sneak up on them. So as long as we stay in the open, we should be okay. And I think this is going to give us our most direct approach. Let's see. If you come this side of this bush with me, you can see that he's busy watching us over there. They're very alert, absolutely aware of what's going on out here. I know he's a male giraffe because the tops of his horns haven't got any hair on, and that side profile gives it away. Absolute giant here in the bush. Easily the tallest land mammal that exists at the moment. Okay, we'll go and fetch him now. Now, what he should do is he should be moving away from us, keeping us on the edge of this zone that he's comfortable with. So it'll be basically like someone sitting next to you in the bus. You'll move over a little bit, and that space is the space that you quite enjoy. Now, animals all have that space, from elephant right through to lion, even leopard, even some insects have that sort of personal space. What we're going to try and do here is establish what that is. All right, there he is. We're going to watch him going away from us now. Looks like he slipped there on the road. Just such a magnificent animal. Alrighty, and while he stops and looks at us, James wants to show you something in his tent.
It is not my eye that I wish to show you, it is the length of this giraffe's leg. Now, I am not a large man. I am exactly 5 feet and 8 inches tall if I stand up dead straight. This is the bottom half, or it's a full giraffe leg, obviously, but it doesn't have the hoof, which means it would probably be about that tall if it had a hoof, which it doesn't. And so it just gives you an idea of the size of a giraffe. It's probably from a big bull like that one there. And so if this is up to sort of, this is basically the elbow joint or the heel joint there. Isn't that astounding? So he'd have a humerus that went up to about here. That's the same as your upper arm. And then further to that, of course, he'd have that huge, huge neck. So you can appreciate the size. Probably about 4.5 meters tall, that is. About 14 feet tall, a big bull giraffe. So I think that's rather amazing. Watch out, Iggy. Well done. Now, we had some answers to my little quiz, my almost impossible quiz. Susie, Tasha, and Opie, you thought it was a baboon spider. Oh, no, it was not indeed. Alex, you thought it was a caterpillar, I think. And Steve, you thought it was a bird. Other way around, sorry. Steve, you thought it was a bird, and Alex, you thought it was a caterpillar. Now, I don't know if this means anything, but the only person to get it right has the Twitter handle 1 stoner and 2 cats. It is indeed a moth. Well done, 1 stoner and 2 cats. I'm not sure if your lifestyle's got anything to do with your vast wilderness knowledge, but there it is. It is an impressive hawk moth. And the hawk moth, despite its fearsome appearance and despite its fearsome name, is actually a devourer of nectar, flower nectar. And it's got a very long proboscis, which it uses to do that. This one has unfortunately broken off. Good. Now, one more thing under the microscope I quickly want to show you. If you look over here, that, everybody, of course, is everyone's worst nightmare, or many people's worst nightmare. It is a spider. And the spider is resting. We can't identify it. We're not sure what it is exactly. So if you have any idea, you can tell us. #SafariLive. The spider is very much alive. It's resting because it's cold. And what I'm going to do is just shift it a little bit there. You can see it's moving. And show you the finery of its amazingly delicate little web. And you'll find that this spider is probably more a hunter than it is a catcher with an orb web. So in fact, much like those lions that you've just seen, it will get up and it will go and look for things and it will kind of jump onto them and grab them, as opposed to many of the spiders, of course, which make orb webs that things fly into, they catch them, they wrap them up, and then they dig their fangs into them and drink their insides out. On that terrifying note, let's head out to something that is very unterrifying indeed. Indeed, quite the opposite. Jamie Patterson.
Or I hope I could be terrifying if I ever needed to be, but as James said, relatively innocuous. When you last saw me, we were on the search for a leopard called Karula. And this is the joy of these live safaris, is of course we never know exactly how it is they're going to go. These animals live in a completely unfenced area of the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa, which means they live completely wild and they come and go as they please. What I wanted to do, I wanted to show you a leopard track so that you could perhaps understand exactly what it is we're looking for. However, the soil is so hard after the rains that we've had that I just can't find a nice one to show you. So what I'm going to do instead is try and draw one, because hopefully I'll be able to make it a little bit clearer. Now, James has got his drawing board. Luckily, I have my easel, which is essentially all of the dirt roads that we drive along. VM, can you see me here? You can sort of see. Perfect, thank you. Now let's see if we can, this isn't perhaps the best easel that we could have utilized. Let's see if I can't try and draw a slightly exaggerated leopard track. What's there, VM? There's something behind me. Just double checking to see if there's not animals sneaking up behind me. Perhaps a Karula and her cubs. It wouldn't be the first time that Karula has surprised us all. She does have a tendency to do that. Right, so this is a leopard track, an exaggerated leopard track. So this is the biggest leopard in the world. They've got 3 lobes at the back of their foot and 4 toes. Now this leopard, if it were a real leopard, would be an absolute monster. This is a far larger leopard track than they actually are. Their tracks are a little bit smaller, but I can't draw that nice and clearly for you. So that is what we'd be looking for if leopards perhaps had cookie cutters for feet. But they don't. And as a result, tracking them can sometimes be, as Steph once described it, tracking a piece of tissue paper that's blown across the surface of the soil. So the question is, the mystery is, where has Karula gone? The mysterious creature, has she disappeared? Having spent a lot of time following Karula, we often joke about the fact that she's probably one of the hardest leopards, and leopards at the best of times are difficult creatures to track. We often joke about the fact that she is one of the most difficult leopards of all time to track. She tends to move in very odd ways and often sort of at 180 degrees of where she was originally moving, which means that trying to find her can be quite an exercise. However, the nice thing about being out here and tracking the Big Five is that often there's little things to look at along the way. And somewhere along this road a couple of days ago, I found a nest site of a lilac-breasted roller, which is one of the most beautiful birds that we get out here. Now I just have to try and find exactly which tree it was in. It was definitely on this road and somewhere around here. Now, for those of you watching, speaking about tracking and speaking about finding animals, perhaps you've had similar experiences in your area. One of the things that I've always wanted to do is to go to the States and to track a bear. Not just the States, but one of the countries where you do find a bear, or any of the species of bear. And I've heard that they can also be notoriously tricky to track. They don't necessarily leave tracks even when they walk, because they've got such big feet. Even in the softest of substrates, it tends to spread out underneath their weight. Aha! See? We might not find exactly what it is we're looking for, but sometimes we find other unexpected creatures. I thought I smelt this particular antelope. It is one of the few antelope species that we as human beings can pick up on the scent of very, very easily, and it is known as a waterbuck. Isn't she beautiful? You can see she's on alert. She's looking off at a noise off to the distance. That's obviously attracted her attention. What beautiful, fluffy animals waterbuck are, and I think that on days like today and yesterday, you must be extremely grateful for that fluffy fur coat of hers to help keep her warm. And the reason I said that she's smelly, I'm not being mean, it's just that waterbuck actually have a very, very distinctive, quite pungent scent that smells a little bit like oily goat, I suppose, is perhaps the best description. I always wish that we could do these live safaris with a scratch and sniff book, so that whenever we come across a scent that we're trying to describe to you, it could just tell you to turn to page 45 and scratch and sniff, and you'll get an idea of the waterbuck. Oily goat mixed with leather, I think, is perhaps the best way to describe it. And that's because they secrete oil to help used to help waterproof their coats. Oh, we've spoken about the fact that it's not just about the big hairies and scaries, and one of the best people to tell you all about that is Stefan WINTERBOER.
You know, I absolutely love the smaller things out here in the bush. One of my absolute favorite things are insects, and of all the insects out here, ants have to be one of my peculiar specials, I think, and in particular these ants. These ants are very, very special ants. They are called trap-jaw ants.
About that, everybody, just outside, we're going to turn off here. There are some monkeys alarm calling going. Let's just take a brief walk out here while I tell you that Steph, of course, is completely live, and there are technical difficulties with broadcasting from the middle of the African bush. Now, monkeys, of course, will sit in the tops of trees and they will alarm call at leopards. Now, Jamie's not too far from here, and I wonder if one of those monkeys hadn't spotted a leopard somewhere around here. They've stopped calling now. Exciting, nice prospect, of course. And let me have a... We've been chatting about leopards, of course, for much of this drive. And what we'll show you here, if you have a look nicely here, is the skull of a leopard. Now, this is roughly the same size as Karula the leopard. This was a female of probably, I'm going to guess here, but I'm going to say probably about a 10-year-old female leopard. Not old, but certainly not in the prime of her years. And I know that because her teeth are a little bit blunted. You can see that there. They're not quite as sharp as they might have been. And they also are a little bit cracked, which indicates to me that she ate a lot of chocolates during her life. Not true. I think that probably comes from wear and tear. They eat quite a lot of bone as well. Now, interestingly, I think, if you look at the brain case, now I've heard people say that leopards have the intelligence of dolphins. It's very anecdotal, and I'm really not sure that it's true. But if you look at the comparison of the leopard's brain with the wild dog's brain, the wild, I think, slightly larger in the back. Now, that means that it has a different part of its brain that operates in a more successful fashion. So, of course, we know that the human being is differentiated. Our brains are differentiated from many other mammals by the fact that we have a very large frontal lobe that helps us with language predominantly. These ones, I don't know what's at the back. I think there's the visual cortex is at the back, which helps them to see and to hear properly as well. And so these things have different senses. They use different senses. Now, I'm just going to take you quickly outside. Come here with me, Eggsy. Come on, man, come on. And what I'll show you is that the monkeys are starting to call up there again and driving just past us over there. He's coming up now is Brent Leo Smith. Let's head straight across to him and find out if he has seen a leopard.
A potential predator. Could be a lioness who's missing, and what we're hearing is this, and basically in monkey language he's going leopard, 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 or lion, 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 leopard, leopard, lion, lion. So I'm really hoping we have some luck, so hold on as we zoom through here. Now, if we stop here quickly, there's a lot of potential prey. Oh my goodness, there's stuff everywhere. And there's lots of impala antelope, a leopard's favorite food. And I'm just going to switch off and listen. And I hope I hear the monkeys again. Okay, I've heard the monkeys. Now we're about to go into a break, so don't go away. We might find something shortly. And I can hear the monkeys' alarm calling up here. Now I wonder if it's a leopard. I wonder if it's a lion. You're going to have to come back to join us and after the break to find out which. Seems a bit silly practicing an advert now. I think it could be Karula. Apparently Karula's tracks have come back north. The monkey sounded like it was over here. Okay, where are you monkeys that are alarm calling? Say, okay, let's switch off and listen again. Okay, so it sounds like the monkeys are actually right alarming in camp. So I'm just going to zoot around and see if we can see what's important. Keep your eyes peeled. We're looking for any little bit of movement. And as we know, Karula, the dominant female leopard in this area, she can be actually in the camp sometimes. She walks all around here. Now, what I really want to see is I want to see the monkey. Now, there's a few animals that definitely want to... Oh, there's squirrel alarm calling as well. And here's some animals that definitely want to avoid Karula, a female bushbuck and her baby. Okay, so we're right on the edge of camp. There's the monkey's alarm calling again. Sounds like they're right in Djuma camp itself. You see one? There we go. Brian's seen them. Now, doesn't look like he's complaining too much as he was earlier. So that leopard might have moved out of sight, or the lion. And he's eating acacia seed pods. Very nutrient rich. It's the monkey on the monkey at the back is the one who seems to be doing the alarm calling. Okay, let's see if we can spot him. See the one sitting? Yeah. Now, I just want to watch him a little bit. Not very... There were far more active alarm calls a little bit earlier, which makes me think they probably can't see whatever the threat was. Oh wait, let's see. Come on. No. They've stopped alarm calling. But we're going to do a little meander around here while we make our way back towards the lions. You never know what we might find. Now, having spent a fair bit of time at Djuma, now I know Karula will often meander right round the edge of our camp and out towards Gallagher. Look what I found on the road. Oh dear, someone let him out of his cage. Send him back to his cage. Where is he? Is he running away from us? Do you think he's hiding from us, Brian? Where's he gone? We saw him. He didn't think we saw him. Do you see him? Little further. Is he hiding? Yes, he's hiding. What are you doing out of your cage?
I want to swear it. Where were they looking?
This way. I'm just going to do a loop around Gallagher Pan now.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out here.
Yo, you might get lucky. She might pop out of the tent.
That's why I'm here.
Yes. Bye, Jamesy. Yes. Okay, so we're back. We haven't been successful in finding whatever those monkeys were alarm calling at, but we know they were looking in this direction. So James is not too far away down there in the tent. Now, if it is Karula, who's the dominant female leopard we get here, it's not uncommon. There's James's tent through the bush there. For her to actually utilize that area around the tent as one of her favorite hunting areas. Now, the last I heard, what'd you spot, Brian?
Nothing.
A leaf. Oh, good spot though. So we're going to just do a loop around to a little water hole here, and we are still going to go back to the lions, but we thought we'd definitely take the gander at trying to see. Thought I heard something again. Frank. Okay, bird alarm call as well. So we are heading in the right direction, so fingers crossed. Of course, this is live. We cannot actually script what happens, and the leopard might sneak away from us. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure last time Karula was seen, she was quite hungry, and she's got 2 young cubs to feed. So she's definitely on the hunt. And Anne is wondering, is Karula likely to climb a tree to hunt monkeys? Most definitely, Anne. Now, Karula, I've never seen her display that behavior, but we have seen her with a monkey kill before. But there are certain leopards that I've seen incredible footage of them leaping in the tops of trees after vervet monkeys. Now, fingers crossed, I'm really hoping somewhere in this little section here she's going to pop out. And you must always keep your eyes peeled. Remember, this is live, #SafariLive if you want to ask us any questions. And we've got lions in the bank, we know where they are, and we're trying to add a leopard to the tally for this evening. While we keep searching for hopefully a leopard, let's go see how Steph's faring on Shank's pony.
I think we found our elephants. Now I'm whispering because they're actually quite dangerous. But come with me. Okay, yes, we've got them. Trying to move quietly through the bush. Right. Let's show you what we can. Right there's a grey blob. You can just see the trunk. I'm hoping that elephant will come out of the drainage line, out of this thick bush, and give us a look at him. It sounds like there's just one there. Now, arguably, elephant are the most dangerous animals to approach on foot in the African bush. And what I don't want to do is get us into a position that makes that animal feel threatened by us. The perfect walk for me is where the animal remains unaware of our presence here. But I must tell you, the adrenaline that gets through you is just epic. To spend time on foot with the largest land mammal on the face of the planet right now is just such a special thing to do, especially considering that we're in the middle of the Kruger National Park, one of the last and one of the largest African wildernesses left. He's coming now into the river. See what he does. There he steps up. Let's see what he's going to do. Look at that. He's not the biggest elephant that I've ever seen. He's coming now to the other side of the tree. Isn't that just a really special thing? There's another elephant as well. I can hear branches cracking, so it's not just one elephant. There's definitely another. Now with elephant, the biggest thing to take into consideration is wind direction. Right. Busy calling to one another. I just want to get a wind sock, basically, just to check that we're not going to get ourselves into trouble. This is basically just an ash bag. As you can see, the ash is blowing away from that animal. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer over here. Now, elephants' eyesight is pointed towards the tip of their trunk. So even though we're moving here, the chance of him seeing us is quite small. Now he's about 50 yards or so away from us. Come across the side. He's now going to come into the open. Alright. We're going to sit here and see what this elephant gets up to. James has got something a little bit, well, I suppose, an inside look into what we just seen.
Here's an inside look into an elephant, I suppose. This is not actually how the arrangement of bones would go, but I just think it's quite impressive. The first bone I'll show you is the one I'm holding on top. This one normally stands on its own. Not today. Right, this is the humerus of an elephant. Now the humerus, everybody, is this part of your arm here. Now you can see that mine is not very large, not as large as Stefan's, and certainly not as large as this elephant bull's. It probably weighs in the region of 40 pounds. I'd say it probably weighs, 40 pounds or so. It's pretty heavy, and it's an amazing design. You can see the muscles that would have gone in there, attached there, and all around here. And of course, an elephant doesn't carry anything really, it's a herbivore. It carries all of its weight on its front legs, and so this humerus has got to be very large. In fact, I think it is the densest and probably the most muscular attached bone that there is in an elephant's body. And over here, I nearly destroyed the tent there, is the femur. Now this is the back end, so the femur at the back, well obviously there's only a femur on the back leg, and it's about, well, probably about 4 feet tall, not quite, just about 4 feet tall, but it's much lighter. It's not much lighter, but it is a bit lighter, but much longer and less dense than the front humerus there, because an elephant's backside tends to slope a little bit downward sometimes, and it doesn't carry the massive head and shoulders, of course, as it does on the front legs. So that is 2 very large elephant bones. Now, before we head back, I just want to give you a little bit of an orientation as to where we are in relation to Brent, who's looking for the leopard. Now, the monkeys were basically calling from over there. Monkeys have exceptional eyesight. And so what Brent is doing is driving in a very wide arc. Don't worry about my easel. And he's driving around like that and seeing if he can't pick up some tracks of Karula. She loves to walk through this area, down past the tent and over to the water. Okay, so that's the story there. When you come back to me, I've got a very strange thing to show you, but in the meantime, let's head across to Jamie, who's got a cow.
I'm sure you are all as intrigued as I am to find out what a strange thing it is that James wants to show you. But while he gets that all prepared, we have found something interesting all of our own. If you have just joined us, my name is Jamie, and I'm sitting with a herd of buffalo here live in the middle of the African bush. Now, a little bit earlier, I mentioned that we were trying to find the queen of Djuma, Karula, the female leopard, and I've returned to the exact spot where she was, only to discover a potential reason for why she is no longer there, in the form of a herd of buffalo that have come munching through the area. Oh, hold on, we've got a latecomer before I move off. I was going to reverse to give you a better view, but we've got one straggler in the form of this buffalo cow. Now, to use one of James's favourite words, buffalo can be quite irascible, and they tend not to be particularly tolerant of the presence of predators. That's something that they share in common with the elephants that you saw with Steph a little bit earlier on foot. Now, let's try and get a bit closer to these, not a bit closer, but let's get a better view of these buffalo, that I can explain to you exactly what I mean. Now, if these buffalo were to encounter Karula, there's a very good chance that they would have chased her away. Now, a buffalo herd is not a threat to a leopard. They could potentially be a threat to tiny cubs, but Karula's two 9-month-old cubs are relatively experienced in the way of the bush, and they would know exactly how to get out of the way of a herd of buffalo. But I have noticed, and I've sat with Karula many, many times in the past, she is a particularly alert leopard. And a couple of weeks ago, I saw her get up and disappear, and I couldn't understand what it was she was running away from, only for a troop of baboons to emerge 5 minutes later. So she'd obviously heard them coming long before I did, and it could well be the case that it was exactly the same thing with these buffalo. Now, if she had encountered them, she probably would have gone shooting up one of the nearest available trees and expected her cubs to do the same. She wouldn't have stuck around to make sure they were okay. Oh, see? Told you they were a little bit irascible every now and again, particularly with the lack of resources that they have at the moment. And Kathy, wonderful to have you on board. And Kathy has sent for a question which you all can do on #SafariLive on Twitter. Kathy, you say, a cow, you would call these water buffalo. And yes, you are absolutely right, Kathy. These are not water buffalo. They are sort of a distant relative of the water buffalo known as the Cape buffalo. And they're essentially the South African equivalent of a bison or a water buffalo. But they're not cows. And contrary to popular belief, there is a misconception, particularly in South Africa, that perhaps domestic cattle were derived from these buffalo. They were not in any way. And in fact, these buffalo, many attempts have been made in the past in South African history to try and domesticate these buffalo and to try and to utilize them as a beast of burden, and it just doesn't really work. They don't have the temperament for it. The same goes for example, domesticating zebra. With wild animals, it doesn't always work. Oh, hold on. Sorry, we've got to go. We got to go. I've just got a report through our radio communication, which is the way that all of the different guides in this area link across to each other. And we are racing off. We're racing across to see an exciting animal that somebody has just called in on the Game Drive comms. Hold on, everybody. This could get to be a bumpy ride. There's another vehicle racing off in front of us. They've all heard the call. Hold on, everybody. Now, as far as I can tell, we're relatively close to these animals, so we're going to keep moving. I think they're just around the corner. We've just got to figure out... Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. They are just a few seconds away from where we are now. Sorry, everybody. I've just got to chat to the guide that has them. They are somewhere just through here. Just need to turn my volume up a little. Sorry, I've just got to listen to this just so we know exactly where to go. Okay. While we race across to them, and we are going to race, I do need to do some chattering on the Game Drive channel, which isn't going to be very exciting for you. So for now, I'm going to send you across to Brent and his lovely Nkuhumas.
So all the cubs have moved around a little bit, and we're still here with the lions. It sounds like Jamie's on the trail of something really exciting. So fingers crossed she managed to get there. But we're still with the lions. They haven't moved much. You can see them all sleeping around. Remember, #SafariLive if you've got any questions for us. We're live out here in the African bush. Now, we're going to play a little game, and it's called 2 Truths and 1 Lie. Oh, but it sounds like we might have to wait a second. Oh no, sorry. There's lots of pandemonium going on in my ear. So what happens is we've got a game drive radio and we can communicate with all the other people. So I was just listening to what's going on there. Now, so 2 truths and 1 lie. The first of the comments is you can get a female lion that's got... Oh no, we're going to do this later. Get across to Jamie. It's the most endangered animal. We get you.
Here we go, we've got the amazing surprise that I had to race off for in mid-sentence. A pack of wild dog trotting down the road right towards us. One of Africa's rarest carnivores, and what a special treat this is. They're going to come right past the vehicle. The African wild dog, or the painted dog. Okay, and now we've got to move relatively quickly because these animals don't stick around for very long. They are nature's athletes. There they are. Which way are they going to go? This is so exciting. Thanks, Rex. They've stopped for the moment. They're sniffing around. Oh, for those of you that have just jumped on board, one of the things that we've started doing is to share a 1-word tweet about how these animals make us feel. So whenever you see wild dogs, what is the first emotion that comes to mind? Send through your 1-word tweet on #SafariLive. These wild dogs are truly one of the most exciting creatures that we have to see. They're constantly moving, constantly on the trot and on the hunt. And aren't they beautiful? Those splotches of paint, you can really see where the nickname a painted dog comes through. If you have just jumped on board with us and wondering what on earth is going on, you are on a live safari in the middle of the African bush, right up in the top northeastern corner of South Africa, in the greater Kruger National Park area, and we're sitting with a pack of wild dogs. Hold on everybody, we've got to move a little bit.